Now, if you've been watching this channel, you know that I'm a huge Amaran fan, especially the 300C, which is one of my favorite all-time lights. But recently, Nanlite reached out to me and said, hey, we have a light that is better than the 300C in every way, and it will save you lots and lots of money. So I said, all right, game on. In this video, I'm going to test the specs. I'm going to show you what the color looks like on the skin tones. I'm going to show you some side-by-side examples. Oh, and at the end, I am going to crown a winner. So stick around. Now, both of these lights are 300-watt full-colored lights, and they're both sold in a white version and a black version. Now, at the time I'm filming this, you can pick up the Nanlite for $154 less than the Amaran. But those prices vary, and let's just add those back in at the end. For now, let's start a comparison as if these were the same price, which they're not. Let's start with build quality. Both of these lights are plastic. Nice plastic, but both plastic. The Amaran does have a nice all-metal yoke, but the handle here, well, it's plastic. The Nanlite also has a full metal yoke, but it's fully articulating. Yeah, I'm going to have to give this win to the Nanlite. It has a better yoke. So what would I pay to have this yoke on this light? Well, I'd probably pay an extra $15. Yeah, this is a nice yoke. But now let's talk about power. The Amaran requires you to have this giant brick hanging off of your light stand, and it connects using this really nice XLR cable. Yeah, it's nice that it's locking. But Nanlite put its power supply inside of the light, and so you can just plug it in with a standard computer cable. Yeah, this is great. Now, I know some of you are going to say, well, look, if you have the power outside of the unit, well, this means if the power supply goes bad, well, you don't lose the entire unit. Yeah, I guess that's true, but you know what? These are really expensive as well. And so if you lose this, well, you might as well have lost the entire unit, in my opinion. Yeah, I like having the power supply in the light. And what's that worth to me? Well, I'd probably pay an extra $20 if I had the power supply inside of this light. Yeah, I love that feature. Now, both of these lights have similar controls on the back. They also have a screen, although it's much better on the Amaran. It's bigger. And the handles here are on the side, whereas this one sticks out in front. So if you're looking kind of down on it, well, it's hard to see that tiny screen. So what would I pay to have a better screen? I'd probably pay another $10 to have this screen on this light. So let's take back $10 from Amaran. That's a nice screen. Now, the Amaran 300 comes with a case, but yeah, it's this crappy case that looks like styrofoam. It's actually much better than styrofoam, and I've ragged on this case a lot, and it's held up much better than I thought it would. It does hold the light and the reflector very well, and it has a larger hollowed out space here, so you can actually get the cord back into the case. That wasn't the case with previous Amaran cases, by the way. So that's an improvement, and it's not the world's worst case, but at least it's a case. The Nanlite doesn't come with a case, you just get it in a cardboard box with styrofoam. Yeah, big disappointment. So what would I pay to get a case for this light? Well, if it was a really nice case with zippers and padding, I'd probably pay an extra $40 or $50 for it. But because it's just a crappy case, well, I'd probably pay, well, $10 for it. So let's take back $10 from Nanlite. But now let's find out which one of these two lights is the most powerful and has the best scores. All right, I got the Nanlite here about half a meter away, and let's take a reading. I'm getting 65,500 LUTs. All right, with the Amaran all the way up, let's see what reading we get. We get only 36,800 LUTs. All right, but often more important to me than how bright a light can go is how dim it can go, because sometimes you just need a little bit of light, and some lights aren't capable of doing that. Let's see how the Nanlite does. All right, the Nanlite at 1% gives 770 LUTs. Okay, so 1% for the Amaran, well, it gets 2,250 LUTs. So yeah, quite a bit brighter. So Nanlite wins both brightness and dimming. All right, so what would I pay to get a light that's 70% brighter and can go 10 times dimmer? Well, I'd easily pay an extra $50. Yeah, that's a big deal. Also, I should point out that the CRI score was a 96.5 for the Nanlite, but a 97 for Amaran. Also, when I dimmed down really, really low, well, the CRI score just kind of fell apart with the Nanlite. Still, it's nice to be able to get a light that's that dim, but I do feel like I need to give Amaran something. So All right, $5. All right, but now I want to compare the colors side by side. I've shot each of these lights into a piece of foam core on the background here, and I've used the standard reflector that each one of them came with. As you can see, there's kind of a hot spot here on the Nanlite. There's a hot spot here on the Amaran as well, but not as pronounced. So I'm going to switch out the Nanlite for a different reflector. And now by using another Amaran reflector, well, you can see it's a lot smoother. In fact, it's actually smoother than the Amaran. All right, that's about as close as I can get them with the blue light. Just an important thing to note is that when you look at the color values on here, well, the Amaran is at 216 degrees in the hue ring, and I'm at 240 on the Nanlite, meaning they don't treat color the same. So you can't just plug in the numbers and get the same lights. You kind of have to tweak with them. Yep, to my eyes, both of these lights do a really good job on green. There's the red. That looks pretty close to me. But now let's try yellow. Yellow is a difficult color for LED lights. I don't know why. Okay, so try as I must here. As I go through the wheel here, I can't actually get the Nanlite to produce the yellow light of the Amaran. I can get pretty close, but when I go this far, it goes to red, and I go this way, and it starts to go to green. So I just really hard to get yellow out of the Nanlite. Now I hope you can see that the colors are fantastic from these lights and deeply saturated, except for the yellow. We're going to have to give that to Amaran, and we're going to have to give him something. I'm going to give him $10. Sorry, Nanlite, I just might need that yellow someday. But of course, CRI scores don't tell the whole story. Let's see what these actually look like in an interview situation. All right, I've set up this scene in my living room, and I have the Nanlite in a small softbox over here to my right. And I've set it only at 9%. Yeah, it'll go up a lot brighter than that, of course, but 9% seems to work pretty good. I've set the Kelvin temperature to 4,400 degrees Kelvin because I want it to be a little warmer to match the tones that I have here in the background. But you know what? When I check that on my spectrometer, I'm actually getting 4,100 degrees Kelvin. So yeah, I'm 300 degrees Kelvin off. And before I bought the spectrometer, I always thought that, well, when you dial in a certain amount of Kelvin temperature, you get that Kelvin temperature. And you know what? I found out that's not true. Not with any lights that I own. So it's always nice to check that against a spectrometer, if you can afford it. We're going to switch this out to the Amaran and compare them both side by side in a minute. But first, I want to turn on another little light. Yeah, when Nanlite sent me this light for review, they also threw in this tiny little PICO Light. Now, this little PICO Light has become one of my favorite little lights, and it's really inexpensive and so useful and tiny. Just throw it in your bag. Yeah, it's only 4 watts, but you know what? It produces a fairly substantial amount of light. And you have full app control on here. In fact, it has all of the effects of the Big Brother in this tiny little, very inexpensive light. So I'm just going to put this off to the side and give myself a little rim light. We'll see how that looks. Yeah, we'll dial that light in, and yeah, it's a little subtle, but you know what? Here it is without it, and here it is with it. Yeah, kind of a big deal for such a small little light. Oh yeah, and I've also taken the Amaran light and put it in the Spotlight SE and thrown it on the background, just so I can add a little bit of light to my background. And that's with it on, and that's with it off. Yeah, let's turn it back on. Now I'm going to switch out the Nanlite and the Amaran, and we're going to put them both side by side. All right, so side by side, this is the Amaran light, and I put the Nanlite back on the background. Now, I'm not sure I did a really good job of figuring out exactly how bright these lights were. I have this one set at 9%, just like I did the Nanlite, but you know, probably just in looking at the monitor, it seems a little bright. I could bring it down to like, something like 6%. Does that look good? Oh, and just for comparison, to get this to 4,100 degrees Kelvin, well, I had to set it to 4,250. One nice thing about the Amaran is that you can move the Kelvin temperature in 50-degree increments rather than 100. Yeah, that's a nice plus. So let me know in the comments if you can tell a difference between these two lights, and if you prefer one over the other. I'll tell you what I think as soon as I get back in the studio and I look at them. I'll meet you back there. All right, to my eyes, both of these lights look fantastic, and I can happily work with either one of them. I am going to have to take a little bit money back from Nanlite, though, because, well, this was closer to the Kelvin temperature, and you can move it in those 50-degree rather than 100 degrees Kelvin increments. Oh, and I should also take off some money for the crappy reflector on the Nanlite. Let's take off $5. Yeah, the Amaran reflector is smoother, and it's metal. The Nanlite, not so smooth, and plastic. So when we total it all up, the Nanlite beats the Amaran by $35. That's if they were the same price, which they're not. This costs $155 more. So yeah, that's a savings of $190. So to put that in perspective, if you buy the Nanlite, you get a better light and leftover money that allows you to buy several of these little PICO lights and still have money left over. Yeah, this is a fantastic deal. Sorry about that, Amaran. Amaran, if you're listening, it's time to step up your game. It's called capitalism. Yeah, and you did a great job with it so far. Let's see if you can keep doing it. Oh, and you can be assured that if Amaran does come out with a new light, I will probably review it on this channel, so you might want to subscribe. Hey, could you do me a favor and hit the like button? It's the easiest way to get this video out to more people like yourself. Oh, and let me know in the comments if you'd like me to do a full review of this little PICO light. Yeah, this thing is really fun. Hey, thanks for stopping by.